Yeah, buy low, sell high. I'm going to be buying the stock of two guys. So I'll start with one and I'll throw to you.
Sure.
Bo Bichette, who has not been great this year. And let me just find the numbers here. Really, over the last week, he's 2 for his last 21. So it's been slow. He only has one home run on the season, 3 stolen bases, on base at 270, which is, uncharacteristically low. I still think at some point that lineup midsummer is going to get hot and he's going to be a guy. So if there's a team that's like, hey, Bo Bichette has not been cutting it for me and wants to offer you Bo Bichette in a trade, and maybe you could, and that's the point of buy low, right? Get guys who it all evens out. This is what we're talking about here. It's fantasy baseball. It's baseball in general. It evens out. But when it comes to fantasy, you need to get those numbers when they're up, right? So maybe this is just a down stretch for Bo Bichette, and you can trade for him now and you get him for the second half of the season, or really the last 2/3 of the season when he's hot. So I would trade for Bo Bichette if the offer is good and you could maybe get him at a better value than you would have gotten him earlier in the year.
Yeah, this is just a lesson for fantasy baseball in general. You kind of have to think of players as stocks, right? You want to buy the dips and sell the peaks, right? That's all that, it sounds cold and analytical, and maybe some people don't like to play that way. I want to watch my best players or my players win on my team. Fine. But if you want to be good, you have to treat them as stocks, right? And so,
and that's why we do this segment every week, right? That's why we do a buy low, sell high segment every week.
Yeah. Like, for example, if I can get Corbin Carroll for 80 cents on the dollar right now, I'm probably trading for him, right? Maybe.
Here's another guy I'm looking at. I am. I'm with you. And I was going to say, I was going to maybe see if he shows some signs of life, but no, I agree. I would too. If you're going to,
once he shows a sign of life, that's it. The window's closed. Like, that's it. And so you have to buy when
that's why I said trade Mike Trout a couple weeks ago, right? Because that's the whole point. He's showing you how good he can be. And that's when you trade him away.
Yeah. So my first buy low is a guy who did just hit his first home run the other day, and that is Alex Bregman. His underlying stuff looks okay. Like, it's not, I'm not going to tell you that he's hitting the ball super hard. It's just okay. The reason why you buy Alex Bregman is the reason that you've always bought him, is that he is an OBP machine. He's still got great plate discipline metrics. His contact metrics have been just okay, but you combine that with the fact that Houston, I think, is only going to get better. Like, I think they're just all right playing horrible. And so you put him in the middle of the lineup. Again, OBP God. I think they're only getting better. Those counting stats are going to come up. His home runs are going to come up. I'm buying Alex Bregman all day long.
Yeah, I fully agree with that call. It's a good call. That's one of the ones where we've talked about this so many times to listen to this show. We love guys who are on teams that we believe are good teams, that we believe haven't reached their ceiling yet. So Bregman, definitely one of those guys. My other one, and this is just lesson to you guys. Sometimes just watching baseball and listening can really help you with fantasy baseball, because I was just watching the Yankee game and I had it on in the background. I was busy earlier and I just had it on in the background, and I heard Joe Girardi say, hey, here's Ryan O'Hearn, who's had a really good season. And he's someone who we talked about on this show, saying, when are some of these other guys going to get playing time? Because, he's playing first base. He's also playing the outfield. He's been playing well and he's having a really good year. But then Girardi said he's actually been extremely unlucky, where his barrel rate, his hard hit rate, every one of his metrics, like we talked about earlier, says he should be even having an even better year than he's having. So in a weird way, a guy who maybe people are trying to sell him because they think that, it's only a matter of time before he loses playing time, or, hey, it's only a matter of time before he doesn't keep this up. Actually, he's been underperforming relative to his peripherals and some of his numbers. And so this guy should actually be a guy that you should buy, because the Orioles they're trying to win. So sure, they're trying to get some of the young guys here, but O'Hearn's got that job on lock right now. And I feel like he hasn't even hit his peak of what he can be and will be this season.
I think that's a great call. I picked up Ryan O'Hearn and I have put CES on my bench. Finally, officially, it happened. Because and I think O'Hearn is a good call out.
That's big.
It is big of me. O'Hearn's rostered in 61% of leagues. You got to get him now because, like you said, he's getting hot, or he's winning that job, and his stock is only rising. And he's got the dual eligibility, first base, outfield. We love to see that.
Yep. I love that.
My sell high,
He's
I got
actually
one, but it kind of. Sorry, what? Go ahead.
no, I wanted to see if he was rostered in my league, so you could go ahead. No, he's
Um,
not. I'll pick him up. I'm gonna pick him
go.
up.
There you
I'm
go.
gonna pick
There
him
you
up
go. You
right
got to
now
stand
as we
stand
speak.
by your
You know who I'm
words.
gonna drop? I'm gonna drop Jose Leclerc.
Look at that full circle. We love to see it. My first, or my guess, and my sell high. I
No, no longer eligible to pick up today. I'll have to wait till after
do it
midnight or
tomorrow.
whatever.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Remind me.
Is
Hope this podcast doesn't drop before
is
someone else in my league is gonna snag him.
my sell high is Mike Tauchman of the Chicago Cubs. Love Mike Tauchman. I think he's a great fourth outfielder. And in the
Stockman.
same, yes, in the same breath, I will say PCA as well. If you can sell PCA high, I probably would do that. Really for the only reason of, I think once Cody Bellinger comes back and Seiya Suzuki comes back, they're not going to get enough playing time to warrant starting for fantasy. And that's too bad because Mike Tauchman has done nothing but earn that job. And if it were up to me, like maybe he plays first base or something. Maybe he's a third baseman. I don't know. His bat certainly deserves to be in the lineup. He's hitting 303 through 436, 949 OPS. But again, we need playing time, and he's got it for now. But once again, Bellinger comes back, Suzuki comes back, which they're on the cusp of doing so soon. He's just going to lose playing time, and it's unfortunate. But yeah, Mike Tauchman has been great, but definitely a sell high for me, and PCA as well.
For me, a sell high, and this is a guy, again, you talked about full circle, Willie Castro. I get it. He's really good. And he's the typical guy I love. He's going to get on base. He's going to steal bases, and he's got eligibility all over the place. The thing for me is he's not stealing as many bases as he did last year. And as good as he's been, you can probably sell him as he's been a 450 on base guy the last couple of weeks. Whereas in reality, he's probably closer to a 330 on base guy. So if people are willing to buy how hot he is now, and this is what we talked about with the stocks, like you just said, and you mentioned all his numbers earlier, he's extremely hot right now. So if you want to buy that, if somebody in your league wants to buy that, I'd be willing to potentially take a loss, assuming that he's going to have a dip. So just like I said with Mike Trout, that yes, I could end up being the fool here who gave away Mike Trout and he was MVP Mike Trout for a full year. I believe that he's going to have that dip eventually. In his case, it was an injury. Willie Castro, he may end up just continuing to ascend, and this becomes the player who he is. I don't think he's that. I think he'll eventually have his dip and go back, and it'll even out. I don't want to have him on my roster when he's having that 200 stretch for 6 weeks because he had a 400 stretch for 3 weeks to where it evens out. That's just me. And even with this hot streak, he hasn't been stealing enough bases. So if he's not stealing enough bases when he's getting on at a 450 clip, when's he going to be stealing bases for a guy who stole 33 last year? That concerns me. So I would sell high. I would try, and if you have him, say, hey, look, this Willie Castro has been incredible, and he's only rostered in 24% of leagues in Yahoo leagues. But if you picked him up and you're one of the 15% of people who picked him up last week, maybe you pick him up and you're like, try and flip him real quick and get an easy, scrappy guy who could just plug and play in your lineup every day. That's not going to have some of those ups and downs that Willie Castro is likely going to have.
And I'll throw this one at you. I think this is a trade that you could absolutely pull off. If you have Willie Castro, find the Alex Bregman owner. There's a chance you could flip Willie Castro for Alex Bregman, and I would probably do that because again, it's a long season. Bregman's done it. And you mentioned the speed. Willie Castro, his sprint speed for stealing 33 bases last year, sprint speed's not like off the charts. Like I'm actually kind of surprised he stole 30 bases.
Yep.
72nd percentile. That's not like blazing fast, right? And so maybe he does get up to 10, 15, but to get to 30 again, like you said, he's on base. Where is it, right? And so if we haven't seen it yet, maybe it's a bad sign. Yeah, if I could flip Willie Castro for Bregman, I would.